Hey, Cash, how much longer I gotta wait for my money?
God made this land for all of us. Greedy people like you want to hog it to yourself and your family and...
Me and my family?
Yeah.
Cassius, I'm your fucking uncle.
I just really need a job.
This is telemarketing. Stick to the script.
Hello?
This is Cassius Green. Sorry to bother you. I just wanted to...
You want to make some money here? Use your white voice.
My white voice.
Like this young blood.
Hey, Mr. Kramer. This is Langston from Regal View.
Was that Visa or MasterCard?
We go level it up! You're going upstairs, my compadre.
Okay, bravo.
You don't have to sell out. I'm not selling out.
Here's the starting salary. Well, man, I'm gonna have to get me some new suits.
We will have a transformative experience.
Aloha! This is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best movie reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And let me just say that today is Saturday, July 14th, and I had the opportunity to see an interesting movie called Sorry to Bother You. Now this stars Danny Glover, Lakeith, Stansfield, Armie Hammer, Stephen Yeun, and Tessa Thompson. And let me just say that this is some of the best work that I have seen Tessa Thompson do in anything that I've seen her so far. She does such a dramatic range in this show. You know, she is definitely a standout character in the show and a standout actress. You know, I've seen her in Marvel, I've seen her in I think Creed, but here definitely she does like a fuller range, more of a range than I've seen her in what I've seen her do before. Everything from supportive girlfriend to feminist to hardworking, struggling, you know, urban, suburban girl to political activist and artist. You know, it is, you know, her performance is a standout for this movie. And if you are a big fan of Tessa Thompson, you definitely want to see this movie. That being said, remember our rating scale, shock a thumbs up. I recommend it. It's good to see. Shock a thumbs down. It's bad to see. It's junk. I don't recommend it. And for Sorry to Bother You, it is a shock a thumbs down, ultimately. Now, I showed you the trailer, and from that trailer and from the other trailers I had seen from this movie, I had really expected, you know, a light-hearted comedy talking about telemarketing, maybe with some poignant, hard-hitting issues of racism, discrimination, you know, poverty, and it does do that. This movie does bring up those points. It brings up these issues, and it goes well wider than I had expected or even thought, because this movie, whoo, man, it is off the chain. You know, it is not, I mean, yes, it starts off that lighthearted comedy that you see in the trailer, with some hard-hitting issues of poverty, of being a black male in society, struggling to make a living, struggling, you know, to make ends meet, to get a job worth having, you know, and also a job worth, you know, worth, you know, a self-fulfilling job. A job that is fulfilling to yourself. However, this movie really reaches for the stars, and it goes well wide of the mark. Let me just say, gosh, it almost becomes like a fantastical farce of a movie. Regardless of all these powerful hits that it gives during the show, oddly enough. It does bring up issues such as, you know, if there's not like a living wage, if unions don't form together in even telemarketing jobs, how can people, you know, go to this job day after day, do what they're asked for 8, 10, 12 hours a day when it's still not enough to get anything solid to eat or even pay their rent or medical bills. It brings up all these issues, but yet it goes so far wide of it, you know, and you know, God, it's almost hard to put into words. But bringing it back down to earth for a moment, it even talks about like slave labor, use of prisoners to do manual labor. Not only just manual labor, but the jobs that nobody else wants to do, working those prisoners into, you know, common societal jobs, so that those of us out here can't even get those minimum wage jobs because they will be able to do it cheaper for far less. You know, which you find is taking place in other countries even, you know, with child labor forces. There's no child labor laws. No labor laws at all, so you can, work factories and overseas, people paying just the bare minimal for people to survive, and just not truly being enough to live, are all issues in this movie, but here in America. But where it goes off the rails is another step forward, in that this corporation who's kind of using this, slave labor force, in telemarketing, they are selling the normal telemarketing things. But if you go to the higher levels, you're actually, able to telemarket away like arms deals to other countries, and workforce labor, this slave labor, where it's like the poverty, the homeless, people who don't have jobs, can't find work, can't have problems finding shelter, food. They go ahead and they say, okay, we'll put you into what is essentially a prison labor camp, where you will get your 3 meals a day, you will have a place to sleep, but you will do these jobs as you are told to do them, and basically for the rest of your life, because they're paying you with room and board, and maybe a bare subsistence, but that's not as outlandish as it gets, because that's still a serious issue, a serious problem. Where Sorry to Bother You really goes off the rails is that the company that is doing this, the next step for them is to genetically modify these workers, so that they are stronger, they are faster, they have greater endurance. So this illegal genetic manipulation of individuals, of people, to force them into this slave labor and keep them there working harder for less and less, that is where it goes off the rails, and it becomes kind of scary and, frighteningly grotesque at that moment and at those moments. And it is no longer, the comedy that you thought you were going to get with hints of insight at all. And so thus I have to give it a shock, a thumbs down, although all of these social issues and implications of which, even relationship issues, between Tessa Thompson and, our main character, LeKenneth, it just goes way too far off the rails with this human genetic hybrid that they are attempting, this corporation which he works for, that he gets suckered into because he becomes such a great telemarketer by use of, as you see in the trailer, this white voice, this white person voice, very much like how Eddie Murphy used to do on Saturday Night Live. Some black comedians do, like, the white, basic urban white demographic speech pattern, very few inflections, things like that. No harsh language or tones, and the use of specific grammar, is used, basically for your audience, which is mainly middle class and upper class white males, to go ahead and get this type of, to sell your product that they're pushing these products to. But, and then you find out that it is other countries buying these labor forces, this slave labor almost, that they want to push ultimately, and where he starts to get more and more money. We're talking like millions of dollars worth of a salary in order to go ahead and do this. And our hero is... Our hero is up to doing all of this for this fantastic money because, he's able to, get his family out of poverty, get nice things for his girlfriend, Tessa Thompson, his uncle, even himself, new clothes, new cars, a new fabulous home. All because he sells out his moral and ethical principles. However, it is only when he becomes, a guinea pig in this genetic manipulation by the corporation that he starts to question it, and he gains his moral center, his ethical, faculties once more, and questions this and rages against, the machine, the corporate entity, which is run by Armie Hammer. But because of that, and because it takes such a violent swerve to the outer limits, I want to say. This isn't even like Twilight Zone territory, just the way outer limits almost in this story, that I have to give it a shock, a thumbs down, because you kind of lose sight of all the issues because of this new focus that the movie takes, and it just kind of shatters the rest of the narrative, the rest of the story that was being set up. I don't know how best to describe it other than that. If any of you remember those 80s movies, and stories by, I want to say Edward Burroughs, like The Naked Lunch or Videodrome, this is definitely kind of way far out there like this. All right, so again, unfortunately, I have to give a shaka thumbs down for, sorry to bother you. It is interesting. Definitely check it out on Netflix or streaming, especially Netflix. You might find it, entertaining, but to spend the money for it at the theater, although, like I say, the political, the social implications, the ideas presented in this are sound and solid. It's just implemented in such a haphazard way that it really takes you away from, I think what they were trying to build towards. And I don't think you'd be satisfied spending, $10, $15, $20 at the movie theater to see this. So definitely check it out on streaming, check it out on Netflix. It does start off as a humorous comedy, but it mutates or is genetically manipulated into something else there at the end. All right, which I unfortunately was not fully prepared for, nor was I willing to accept from point A to B to C to Z all of a sudden. It just didn't seem to take its time to get there. It just kind of, in your face, just like that. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. This is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, giving, sorry to bother you, shaka thumbs down, unfortunately. All right. Thank you so much, and aloha.